Hello and welcome to our show from our London studios. I'm Dr. Amara Sohail. Our topic today is very important as well as controversial. The topic is about Rochdale scandal that has resurfaced since Elon Musk has made the controversial remarks of deporting Pakistanis who were involved in this scandal. Pakistani communities, they are really disturbed and their sentiments are hugely affected. So to discuss that, we have invited in our studios today Mr. Amir Khan and Curtis Hinton, and we are also having some more guests online. Let's welcome Mr. Amir Khan and Curtis Hinton. So Dr. Khan, thank you very much for joining us in the studio to give your opinion on this very controversial topic that has resurfaced recently. It's this Rochdale scandal of rape, grooming by Pakistani people. So what are your views? You are representing Pakistani doctors in UK. So what are your views on this topic, and what do you think Elon Musk's comments about this particular topic, are they actually doing anyone any favors, or it is causing more harm to the reputation of the Pakistani community?
Thank you very much, Amara, for having me. It's a very difficult topic and I feel very strongly about it. So if I use strong words, please excuse me for it. I think people forget one thing. This child grooming is something which we all condemn strongly, right? And it's a clear stand of every person, forget which religion or color they belong to, who are strongly against it and would like government to take strict actions and stop such actions, right? And those people who are involved in it should be punished strongly, irrespective of what they are and where they come from. Okay, so that's the first thing. I'll make it very clear here. I think this thing which is happening now, if you see, every society has got bad apples, right? And there are people who have got rotten people who have got bad views in life and bad look at way they work in life. You cannot label the whole community for it. Unfortunately, if you look around, now what they're doing is the right-wing agenda. They are trying to exploit it to create further division amongst the UK population and try to target one community. Okay? I've always said that these things, these type of people are not, they do not belong to any particular class, religion or community. And I don't think we should label the whole community for it. Just give you a simple example. You remember when it first time surfaced, there was a Home Office report which specifically said that when you talk about the gangs, grooming gangs, majority of them are white English Britishers. Do we think that every Britisher is like that? No. I've lived with them. I know them all. We move up and about every day. They are sensible people, majority. You cannot label majority because of few rotten apples. So I think that is wrong here. What right-wing agenda is to divide people. They are trying to target one community and one religion. It has got nothing to do with it at all. We are strongly against it and we strongly demand a strict action against such people. If you look around, majority of the people who are involved in this are still from a different, from local white British.
So Dr. Khan, you're absolutely right in saying that. And previously, a lot of Pakistani community leaders and even religious leaders, they had condemned these statements made by previous politicians. So why do you think that this has come back? Do you think Elon Musk is not aware of the facts?
He is aware of the facts. He is exploiting it for his political gains, right? And this is the right wing, which not just here, it's everywhere else as well. If you see, we have all gone through this. There was a huge scandal about Catholic Church. Do we think every Catholic, do we say all Catholics are like that? No, we don't, because that's wrong at the end of the day. You cannot put a blame of one particular individual on the whole community. And this ought to be strongly condemned. I think the agenda here is to divide the society and create a new way of causing more disturbance. They want right-wing governments. If you see, Elon Musk is supporting right-wing government in Germany, the right-wing over there. He's supporting right-wingers in France, right? And he's doing the same thing here. First, he was a close pally of Nigel Farage. I don't know what's happened now. I gather there's a bit of difference between the two of them. So they always try to find things which are easy to exploit. so they can gain politically out of it. And we ought to strongly condemn it and stop it going any further.
And have you noticed any or heard any reaction from local Pakistani community in your area since these comments have been made by him?
They are very worried, right? And they're rightly worried because we are all part and parcel of this society. We have made this as our home, and I'm thankful to the British population, locals who have accepted us as local people with them, with open arms. And we are working in the same community. And I think this type of thing, the worry is, if it flares up further, you saw what happened with those, it was again Elon Musk, when he tweeted on X about those murders in the north. That girl who got murdered, he labeled suddenly someone which had nothing to do with it. That boy was not a Pakistani Muslim or at all. But what happened? They burned the mosques, they started looting Pakistani people's, Muslims' businesses. And this is to create an unrest in the society, because right has always survived on it. They've always survived on creating these type of differences. And I think personally that not just us as Pakistani Muslims or educated people should be talking about it. I think we need to confront it openly. I think we need to join hands with sensible British politicians, right, and work with them as well, so that we can all highlight it, that this is not the community at large. There are certain bad people and they should be treated badly.
Absolutely. So, Curtis, as a political journalist, you have heard Dr. Khan. Do you think there is a political agenda behind all that is happening these days, the controversies going on?
Firstly, thank you for having me on the programme. And I completely agree with what Dr. Khan is saying. I want to touch on the point you said about the gangs in crime within the UK.
Yeah.
The Home Office in 2023, 85% of grouped base offences were white males. 7% were Asian. So we look at we know that the population in this country is a lot more, is white compared to any other ethnicity, but we look at that and it's a huge difference. Politicians are using it to their advantage. What's interesting is the Elon Musk stance is he was a Democrat. Donald Trump was a Democrat. Didn't find success in that area, so they've gone right-winged. He's now, like Dr. Khan said, he's now hosting events with the AFD, which, again, if that works for Germany, then fantastic for them. But he seems to be going very right-winged. And I think it's because of the response he's getting. A lot of people in the UK turned against him when he turned against Farage, because some people see Farage as a saviour of the last kind of 10 years in the UK with Brexit. I know a lot of non-British nationals who live in the UK who wanted Brexit because they're not a fan of the EU. Everyone has their own right to an opinion of that. But the issue is we need to be very careful not to fire this to being a racial issue. Yes, there were Pakistani men, but we do not say, when it was the Church of England, when Justin Welby lost his job because he didn't do enough safeguarding, we didn't come out and say white British men are paedophiles, are sexual predators. We didn't say that because that's not a fact, just like Pakistani men are not groomers. These selection of men are groomers. They were the ones that were taking these women.
Do you think that our politicians in UK are defending the statements Elon Musk has made, or they are taking advantage of it?
I think the likes of Reform are using it to their advantage. Reform haven't had a stance on it prior because they weren't a party of significance. Conservatives had a lot of years to do this. They're doing it for political point scoring, in my opinion. They were in power for 14 years, did nothing. When the 20 recommendations from the J report came through, they did nothing. Labour are now implementing it. However, they can implement it, but in my opinion, and I think in the interests of the nation, still do an inquiry. Because the inquiry of the J report doesn't specify these specific towns. It mentions Rotherham once, and it doesn't mention anything about grooming gangs at all. So let's do an inquiry into the grooming gangs, but why aren't they? And the biggest issue is because the right are leading a narrative at the moment where they say it's Pakistani men, it's Asian men that are doing it. First it was Asian grooming gangs, now it's Pakistani grooming gangs. And they're leading that narrative, which means that if Labour now do this inquest, a lot of Muslim voters vote for Labour. It's where they get a good number of votes around the north of the country specifically. And they probably are in fear that they're going to they're going to lose those votes. Now, Labour could have come out. The other day there was a vote in Parliament in regards to, there was an amendment they wanted to the new bill. In my opinion, the bill shouldn't have been amended. Labour should have come out and said, we aren't going to add this to this bill because it's going to stop the protection of child safety. But we're going to promise you we're going to do an inquiry, because there needs to be an inquiry into these gangs, regardless of who they are, regardless of where they're from. So I think Labour are being weak on it, Conservatives are jumping on the bandwagon, and Reform are using the momentum that Elon Musk is giving them. But then as a young party, why not at the moment? Like they're on the stance where a lot of the media isn't picking up the story, so they can share the story because people want to know the story, regardless whether they want to blame a certain culture or race. They want to know what the story is. And because the mainstream media isn't telling them the full truth, they turn to the likes of X where they can find full truth, but also some misinformation, which is dangerous.
Yeah, it is, of course, dangerous, and it's not good for the community cohesion and people working together in a country, living together in harmony. So let's take online Dr. Akmal Makhdum, who is a consultant psychiatrist and also very passionate about social issues in UK and abroad. And he has previously condemned these scandals strongly. So let's see what he thinks about the current controversies. So thank you very much, Dr. Makhdum, for joining us today. I know you are very far, you are visiting Pakistan and you spared time, it's quite late there. So please tell us, what do you think about the recent controversies that we are hearing these days?
Yeah, I may be in a grooming university in Pakistan. So basically, what we need to look at is that there are, in my view, three aspects to this. There is a micro aspect that we're looking at, but then there is a larger aspect. The larger aspect is that if you look at what happened in the 1930s and 1940s, you see similar stereotypes, similar victimization, similar persecution, similar identification about Jews in Europe. So what we see today is that we are once again in Europe. We are once again looking at a minority. In terms of social cohesion, Pakistan.
Sorry, we had some connection, network problems, so we have Dr. Makhdum back online. So please carry on.
Okay. So we are looking at the micro, the UK aspect, and certain political aspects, and political antecedents and consequences that may arise. Of course, the two speakers have very ably put light on that. As far as I'm concerned, I'm looking at the macro aspect that has been going on for many years now, and the riots that happened not too long ago, and the transformation in the United States with what's been happening in the last decade or so. These are emblematic of what was happening in Europe in the 1930s and 40s. What you see is the 14, 15 years of austerity, the lack of security, lack of trust in institutions. And this is exactly what has happened in England, that people have lost faith and people feel disenfranchised in institutions. All across Europe, you see that. In Hungary, you have the Orban government. There is a massive resurgence of the fascists in France, in Germany, and in Italy. The Forza Italia and all these right-wing parties are over there. So what you see is this was what was happening in Italy, this was what was happening in France, and this was also happening in Germany in 1930s and 40s, and this was what was happening in Spain. And at that time, in the United States of America, there was a massive rally in New York of the fascist party of United States. So what you have had is that a country where you've had KKK, the Ku Klux Klan, you have the racists and fascists all over the right wing, the McCarthys and the southern states, how they have persecuted the blacks and so on. So this racist undertone has always been there as part of the political narrative in Europe and in America. The only difference is that because of COVID and because of all the wars and because of all the financial problems, when the economic stability of the working person is damaged and under threat, that is when the racists can incite the basic um, the base instincts in human beings about being attacked, their women being attacked, their children being attacked, the way Jews were once called that, the blood libel, that they were killing children and they were drinking their blood, and there was ritual Christian children being persecuted. So at this moment, the Jews of 1930s and 1940s have now been transformed. The Muslims of today are the new Jews of Europe.
You would agree this is very damaging, where there is so much unrest going on in the world due to this economic crisis and recession and all that. People want to live in peace, and this kind of comments, they can really disturb the peace of communities. So it's definitely
that doesn't matter to the narcissistic leadership. No, but the thing is that if you look at research, if you look at literature, if you look at the psyche of leadership, what does it comprise? What are the people who make your political elite? The political and capitalist elite are all entitled, very powerful, very narcissistic people. And what is the characteristics, the core characteristic of a narcissistic leader? The core characteristic of a narcissistic leader is there is no empathy, there is no conscience, there is no learning. So you and I can say that because we are nobodies. We will be the first people to be put in concentration camps and maybe led into gas chambers or deported or whatever, or starved in a concentration camp or in a gulag. But so as far as we're concerned, we can cry hoarse in terms of whatever the indignation that we have. But you need to look at what the
I think there is again signal issue.
And so in terms of what the crisis,
I think there is a signal problem again, Dr. Makhdum.
As a to destroy us, basically we need to confront it head on the way people should have done the Nazis in 1940.
The thing, of course, like we all agree that these scandalous issues that we have seen in the last few years, every community has condemned it. But suddenly it resurfaces and it affects the harmony of the communities. So, and it's not just the Pakistani communities. I think where we live in such a harmony, our British public is also very sentimental about such comments made by these people. So joining us online is Dr. Usman Khan, who is a consultant surgeon and current president of APPS UK, which is Association of Pakistani Physicians and Surgeons in United Kingdom. Thank you very much, Dr. Khan, for joining us. So you have heard what we are discussing. The topic today is the resurfacing of Rochdale scandal of rape grooming gangs. Elon Musk has made very strong comments about these gangs, and that has caused disruption. And in the this society that was living in peace, suddenly everyone is annoyed about these comments. So, what are your views about it?
Assalamu alaikum and good evening. Thank you very much for inviting me. I have already replied to Elon Musk, but he hasn't replied back, whereas previously he was in communication. So I think it's, people may think that I am a conspiracy theorist. I'm not. But I am convinced there is something behind it which is going on now, because it's been started when we are fighting for Gaza, when we are fighting for freedom of movement, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly in Pakistan. Suddenly, these things start coming up. Why suddenly out of the blue? Where, I shouldn't say it, but when Mr. Musk's father married his stepdaughter, it's all over. Why throw stones at people when you live in glass houses yourself? So he shouldn't done that. Anyhow, there was in research published, which was done by Home Office on 15 December, Guardian, which I sent it to him, which says that the majority of the rape gangs are white British males. I mean, whatever happened in Rotherham and other areas, we regret it. I personally feel that a rapist destroys a life forever. And I think they should have a capital punishment. I know people are not going to like it here, but that's what my feelings are. So we do regret it, but it doesn't mean that you suddenly pick up those 2% of people. There are only 2%. There is another research published by Javed Hassan, who was a very famous banker. He has recently published it, and he has shown from different documents that only 2% of people involved in molesting young girls were Pakistani gangs. 2% only. The rest was all made of
But
British
clearly,
white.
I mean, we have seen that his comments are not based on facts. And I mean, the truth is opposite to what he's saying. So, why do you think he's making such comments without getting enough information to pass on to the public?
Uh, I think it is to take the attention all of the world from all the other problems which Muslims and Pakistanis are facing at the moment. And I also think actually that with his narcissistic behavior or whatever, I don't think he will probably carry on with President Trump also. And I think their association may not last more than 6 months. That's what my feelings are. They probably, it will go on for a few months, and then there will be some silly thing out of him, and they'll fall apart. So it could be an agenda brought on by uh, other religions, because I tell you, he had tweeted few months ago when he took over. Very few people know about this. When he took over X, he tweeted something about Jews. All those big American organizations dissociated themselves from Twitter. He sat in their offices, literally begged, and he was going there for almost a week before they started using it, Twitter again. So I personally believe that it is something to do with that.
I mean, it's clearly a misuse of his status because the whole
Yeah.
world knows that he's Trump's right-hand person, and he thinks he can get away with making these false allegations on certain communities. So, I mean, do you think that he should apologize to Pakistani communities after making such harsh comments?
I think so. I think he should apologize to Pakistani Britishers. Definitely, he should, and in fact, uh, it's all, I think, a right wing agenda which is going on at the moment. He's after Labour government. He's favoring the it's not reform. What's the name of their the other party, the right wing. He's favoring those. And there was some news about he giving them a lot of money, whether that is correct or not. So it is a kind of right-wing approach which is going on all over. He has annoyed not just us, he has done the same to Canadians, to Germany, to French. So there is something very funny internationally going on. And I also feel that all the Pakistani associations over here, I've already spoken to Mr. Amir Khan this morning, that we should actually get together now, and the Muslim Council of Britain, all of us must get together and protest to the British Prime Minister about it, and to the Americans also. I think this is really needed.
That would be a very important step to take.
Or
and
maybe
also,
we should
as
hold a
he said,
vigil
he should
outside.
apologize, but the question is whether he would or not. We'll see. The time will tell us. But,
Yeah.
so thank you very much, Dr. Usman, for your views on this matter. So let's ask Dr. Amir Khan what he thinks. Is he going to join hands with your organization to write to British government to request for a formal apology from Elon Musk? So what do you think, Mr. Khan? What do you think should happen?
Thank you very much, Amara, and thanks very much, Usman. I fully agree with you. This is such an important issue that I think all Pakistani Muslim leaders who are in this country, whether they are medics, whether they are businessmen, or whether they are politicians, I think we all need to get together, and I think we need to put a very strong statement about it. We all strongly condemn what happened in Rotherham and all that areas. We strongly condemn all those people who are involved in such acts. And as Usman said, these are the people who deserve capital punishment if it is available, but they should be punished badly. On the other hand, I think we should demand the governments to stop people like Musk using their strength, which he's got a big power. He's got an X with him, which is seen all around the world. Instead of, he should be told very clearly that there are some boundaries. And I think, yes, we believe on freedom of speech, but freedom of speech also has some values with it, attached with it. People have to respect those. And I think he should be not just even asked to apologize. I think there should be a punitive action by British government against X on it. Because he's not just attacking us, he's attacking the Prime Minister as well. The biggest joke was he attacked the Canadian Prime Minister as well. So he is trying to go everywhere where he can. I think we should be strongly condemning all that. And we've also already discussed, I discussed with Usman as well, we are putting a statement together in which we are going to take other leaders with us as well, and then put a strong statement to the government.
And clearly this misuse of power should be snubbed in this day and age, because this is not going to help the communities.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous because it's going to divide a community which is living happily together, and suddenly they're going to divide us together from one another.
Thank you very much. So let's take Curtis's views as a political journalist. Do you think media and journalism can play a major role in rectifying the problem that has been created recently?
Definitely. I think there's media now isn't just what you see on TV. It's a global phenomenon. You can post anything you want, and 10 people might read it, 5 will believe you, 5 won't. Yeah. Whether it's true or not. And that's the power we all have. Now, like Dr. Khan here, I'm all for freedom of speech. I think that's a great thing. We live in a civilization where we have that. But where freedom of speech there's also consequence of speech.
Yes.
And you own that yourself.
Yes.
Elon Musk, in my opinion, I'm in no way defending what he's done or what he's said in any way or form. Again, he is no further than the law. He's not ahead of the law like everyone else. He is a man who spent a lot of time working on tech. He's a man who spent a lot of time probably on his own, and he wasn't necessarily the liked child or the liked person in school. And that's not be attacking him in any way or form. He'll probably admit that himself. He then came into Tesla, these cool things, people liked him, kind of knew him, oh, he's done some great tech advancements. Then get into cryptocurrency. People liked him a little bit because he the whole Dogecoin and the Doge now, the government, the Department of Government Efficiency in America. But now he's got a whole audience he never had before. And he probably doesn't know how to cope with it. But he owns X, which is, putting them both together is dangerous. He's attacked Justin Trudeau, who's now stepping down, obviously not because of him. Probably one of the worst attacks on Starmer is said that he was complicit with these grooming gangs. Now, whatever your thoughts of Keir Starmer are, whether you think he's strong, weak, whether you think he is even good as a prosecutor or not, attacking a prime minister of a country where you're now going to become an official of, we heavily criticised Dave Lammy for his comments on Trump. We need to be criticising Elon Musk the same way that he's treating our leader, whether you're for or against Starmer, in my opinion, because the right held David Lammy to account for his comments on Trump. We want a great relationship with the US. The US want a great relationship with us. It works both ways. We now need to be doing the same with Elon Musk. One thing I do want to ask you all is that Rupert Lowe, a Reform UK MP, is calling for the Pakistani men to be deported back to Pakistan and to stop any foreign aid to Pakistan, which I think is about 50 million a year. It's going to triple over this government period. Is saying to stop that until they take them back. I mean, Dr. Amara, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think that Pakistan should take them back?
Clearly, I mean, why would any personal comments should make a huge difference in the democracy of the world? Clearly, it's against the democracy. He can't make such a comment that can be so harmful for all these countries to get together. They work together, and we need support from these Western world.
Yep.
Because small countries, developing countries, they can't function on their own unless there is a support from the big powers. And this kind of comments, they only create a divide, I think, and it should not happen. And these politicians should know their limitations, and they should not misuse their powers or their positions to make such dangerous comments that can divide communities.
I think I'll only add one thing to Stuart, that I think these people should be punished.
Yes.
They should be punished. They should be, okay, we don't have a capital punishment, but we can punish them, put them into prison and lock them up, because they shouldn't be sent to any society. They should be basically taken out of the society and put into dungeons. And that's why I think that would be the right way to do. But as far as Elon Musk's attack on our Prime Minister, its attack on British democracy and British institution, I do not think we should put up with it. And I think British government should be taking a strong stand about it. And this is the time to curb it now before it gets worse.
And I mean, we agree. No one, we all condemn these criminals. They should be punished. But targeting the whole community as such, that's not fair. Because there are so many people who are actually benefiting the society in big ways. If you look at all the fields in UK and abroad, people are making very positive contributions from Pakistanis, Indian communities. And if there are some bad people, they should not defame the entire community. So let's take online Jo Hall. She works within NHS as theatre sister. And she did not like these comments. So let's ask Jo what she thinks about these dangerous comments made by Elon Musk.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Jo, for joining us to discuss a very important and controversial topic. So what do you think about all that is happening in the last few days?
I find it quite abhorrent that in this day and age, we are still identifying people by their colour, their creed, their religion, their gender, their identity, rather than acknowledging that these people are human beings, that we lack the respect for individuals, that the people seem to feel that because they're in positions of power, they can dictate, manipulate, and through propaganda, through their access to worldwide and social media, they can manipulate people's views, they can manipulate people's ideas, and that they seem to think that they have the right to dictate to the populace what to think, how to feel, and what needs to be done. I don't think anybody has got the right to formally abuse their positions of power in such a negative manner. I feel that we as individuals, as human beings, have the right to a community. Everybody has the right to free speech and opinions, but they have to mitigate that, and they have to take the consequences of their actions and what they actually say to people, and how that can affect multiple communities. I couldn't care less whether you were pink with purple spots or what religion you had, as long as you respect the next human being next to you. We all have a right to an opinion and a view. We all have a right to life and to live our lives accordingly, without the
And Joe, you would
dictates of
agree
people
that
with
in
these power.
Britain we are a multicultural society. We live in harmony. We work in
Absolutely.
harmony, and
Absolutely.
such comments, they can actually basically affect people's peace of mind.
Well,
I mean,
I
do
think
you
it's very
think that
destructive.
where social media plays such an important role in our lives these days, this kind of negative publicity is influencing our thoughts about different communities?
I absolutely do. I think it's manipulating the populace at large. It's filling people's heads who haven't got access to the realities of the impact of all of this negative, and it's divisive. Now, we need to be working together to construct a society where we all work together, where we all respect each other for who we are and what we are, rather than trying to divide people by their differences, whether they're physical, whether they're psychological, whether they're socially economic. We need to be working together, not dividing people. And one of the things that I really appreciate, I mean, I have worked in developing nations, and one of the things that I've also worked within the UK for many, many years. I know both I've worked with Mr. Usman Khan for many, many years prior to working with Mr. Amir Khan, which I've been working with now for the past few years. And we all work together. We don't look at each other or identify each other by our race, by our religion, by our colour, by our nationalities. We identify each other by human beings, and we work together. And by working together, we can build a better and stronger society. And I don't see where the heck Mr. Elon Musk gets the right to think that he can dictate to people who can work with who can speak to whom, and what actions he should dictate to other people. He's got no right to turn around and discriminate in the manner in which he is doing, and he's got no right to create such divisions within society, which I would like to think, certainly within the UK, we have had a multicultural society for generations now, and there will always be rotten apples in every barrel. But that has got nothing to do with a particular race, colour, creed, religion, or otherwise. It doesn't, there will always be those people that are divisive. There will always be those people that are negative. But on the whole, within the UK, we work together, irrespective
Absolutely.
of our
What I mean, you're
ethnicity.
representing very well the views of us as public. Why do you think the politicians don't look at these things in the same way?
I would, if I had the answer to that question, I would love to give it. I don't. I think a lot of them are bound by political correctness to the point where there's a lot of people I think would like to speak their minds but feel constrained to do so. I feel that everybody has the right to free speech, however negative it is. But I think we need to focus on the positive values. If we keep giving so much media attention to negative values, then it has the ability to take hold. It has the ability to influence. We need to be reinforcing the positive societal values of a multicultural society. Then we
Dr.
allow them
Usman,
to
would
take
you like
hold.
to uh, uh, answer some of the questions I have put to Joe regarding politicians? Why do they not think and look at things the way we as public look at it?
Are you asking me?
Yes?
Hi, Amara. Yes, I, I, Good politicians would do that actually, that they always speak the language of the general man, language of their constituents. I, I think they should. The problem only arises when they close their minds off to what the general public is thinking, and that is always the downfall of the politicians. Let me tell you this statistics also, that Pakistanis are around 2.7% of the population of England and Wales. 2.7%, very interesting figures. But 8% make junior doctors and 4% consultants and 10% other specialities. After white British, second number is Indians, because look at their population, 1.2 billion, and Pakistan is 240 million. They are at number 3. So, we do a lot of service in this country in a lot of important life-saving specialities, also professions. So if few of the bad eggs, those taxi drivers, did that, it does not mean that you should start labeling whole of the Pakistani nation as rapists. So that was very uncalled for, very uncalled for.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Joe and Dr. Usman, for your views on this topic. And
Thank you.
hopefully your views will be heard, and there will be some positive response from British politicians as well. So we can only hope for the best. So Mr. Khan and Curtis, you heard the views of our guests. There is no question about appreciating what Elon Musk has said. Is there anything else that you want to add to what we have already discussed?
I think something which I think often gets overlooked is that politicians are playing to an audience, they're playing to a narrative. They're trying to get certain votes in certain areas. Reform are getting patriotic votes, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with wanting England to be England. People come to this country because they want to be in England. But over the years, we change with diversity, which is I've always advocated for that. I think it's a great thing. Multiculturalism is what Britain is. It's been like that since the dawn of time. People have invaded places. People have now started to integrate, which is great because it means you don't lose land. But one thing in the UK is the increase of illegal immigration, the small boats crossing, and I think this is a prime opportunity for them to people to have that anger inside them, because I know people who aren't British who live in England who hate the fact that they had to go through every single hoop, left, right and centre, to get here and to be able to live and contribute to society. But someone can come across on a boat and stay here, be given a hotel and that sort of stuff, and they feel the anger of British-born people, because they're taxpayers too. It's their money being spent on this. And I think that this is where the misplacement of people's anger is at. Because they're not British people, they're some are Asian, some are Albanians, they're coming over, Syrians obviously coming through now, they're coming over and they're using taxpayers' money they're staying here longer than they should, basically. And I think that's where the anger's at. So the issue with it being now a race issue, I think that's where the problem's at. People are fed up with the illegal immigration into this country and they're mixing the two together. It doesn't matter if these men are Pakistani. It doesn't matter if they're British. What they've done is a heinous crime. It's horrendous. And they should be punished to the full extent.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Now, the most important thing is where social media or journalists can play a major role is to make public aware of these differences in illegal immigrants versus those who have come through legit routes and they're making a very positive contribution to the society.
Absolutely.
I think that's a debate. I think we better keep it for another time as well.
Yeah.
Because it's a very important debate. We need to have it at some stage. I think this particular issue, I'm thankful to all your guests who came on to it. And I think they all raised very genuine questions, that we got a society here where people are living together in harmony. and everyone is contributing positively. But suddenly, there are some politicians, failed politicians. I would take some names: Suella Braverman, your Priti Patel. Then now you got what's her name? Our present.
Keir Starmer?
No, the leader of the opposition.
Kenny Badenoch.
Yeah, Badenoch. These are the people who are trying to clinch to something. So what they're doing is they are trying to exploit, as you said, there are people who have got genuine concerns. They're trying to exploit them, and they're trying to divert it to a particular community because it's an easy target.
And that isn't that for their personal gains?
Totally,
or benefits?
totally. It's a personally motivated thing. And Elon Musk is actually fueling it because he is the right wing as well. And this extreme right wing.
And is it throwing money into
He's got
that,
plenty of
course?
money.
Yeah.
That's a problem when you got a society in which someone has got so much money that no country is equal to it. He's got more wealth than most of the countries have got in the world. So what do they do then? They try to clinch on to something which is easy to exploit. And they've seen, like the figures, about 2 or 3% population is Pakistani Muslims, easy target. Let's target them now. What's going to happen next? After that, it'll be Indians. Then it'll be West Indians. Then it'll be other nations,
It's never going to
Eastern
end
Europeans.
because it's just
So
the beginning
it
of a
is-
very bad
It's a bad
race.
chain.
Yeah.
We need to stop it. And I think we need to get politicians on board with us. Without them, we cannot move forward. And I think we need them. We need to move forward. There's an opportunity here. Our Prime Minister should defend the British democracy and stop this attack on British democracy. And I think we should do what is right for the country, not for what the right wing wants. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much,
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Khan and Curtis. It was very useful session, and I just
Thank you.
hope that there is some
Thanks a lot.
public awareness in it.
We'll have a debate on that.
So, viewers, you heard the sentiments and opinion of our guest today, and the message is clear, and the consensus is that British public is fully capable of differentiating between good and bad, and this kind of controversies, they may disrupt the harmony and peace of communities in UK.